Returning to Old World in 2025, after years of updates, expansions, and a steadily growing community, is a strategy game that has fully come into its own, not by copying Civilization, but by daring to reinvent what ancient era 4X design can be. The first thing that struck you when revisiting Old World is how alive its world feels today. In earlier sessions years ago, the character system felt clever but occasionally burdensome. Now, after major improvements and dozens of substantial updates, the experience is smoother, richer, and far more natural. Characters, from rulers, heirs, spouses, courtiers to generals, no longer sit on the sidelines as mechanical bonuses. They have become the beating heart of the campaign, shaping stories, politics, diplomacy, and even combat in ways that often feel more like reading a historical chronicle than simply expanding borders. The game captures that blend of strategic calculation and human drama that reviewers frequently highlighted in their reassessments, noting how the game has matured far beyond its launch state. Coming back in 2025, what really will surprise you is how polished the entire experience has become. A few years ago, many players had concerns about the UI, which felt dense, the map somewhat stripped down, and the sheer volume of decisions could be mentally exhausting. The developers have refined everything. Tooltips are smarter, icons clearer, and the interface now presents the game's depth in a more digestible way. What used to be noise now feels like signal, making the flood of events less overwhelming and more engaging. Something echoed by those who revisit the game after many patches, praising how well the design had evolved. The moment-to-moment gameplay still revolves around one of Old World's most brilliant innovations: the orders system. Unlike Civilization, where each unit patiently awaits your command every single turn, Old World ties your actions to a limited pool of orders, essentially the ruler's attention span. Coming back to it now, this constraint feels even smarter than I first realized. It pushes you to make real choices rather than mechanically sweeping the map each turn. It's a system that has aged extraordinarily well, especially as your empire grows and priorities collide. You can't do everything, and the game is all the better for it. Another design decision that felt unusual at launch but now feels indispensable is the city site system. You don't just drop a settler anywhere. You must claim predetermined city sites, which creates a structured, almost wargame-like puzzle across every map. Years ago, this felt restrictive, but today, especially after seeing how the system stabilizes balance and guides more meaningful city planning, you will appreciate how it distinguishes Old World from the infinite sprawl mentality of other games. Reviewers who initially criticized the mechanic later admitted the same. Once you adjust your expectations, it becomes a clever pillar of the game's identity. One of the most striking parts of returning to Old World in 2025 is seeing how confidently it commits to its single-era focus. Unlike Civilization, which races from the ancient world to the information age within a single session, Old World roots itself entirely in antiquity. And this focus allows it to go much deeper: families, laws, culture levels, lineage, succession, tactical military doctrines, and hundreds of narrative events all interlock because the game doesn't have to stretch itself across thousands of years. The combat and city development also feel more layered. Family politics carry real risks. Anger a noble house, and your empire may fracture from within. Generals aren't faceless attachments, but characters whose loyalty and traits matter. Governors reshape cities in ways that feel genuinely unique. Even the tech deck, a card draw system where unavailable choices may not return, adds a strategic rhythm that pushes adaptation over rote planning. The whole experience feels sharper. What ultimately will convince you that Old World has reached full maturity is its sense of progression, not just from turn to turn, but over the years since release. Player counts have steadily risen, updates have piled up, and the addition of DLC and built-in mod support has expanded the game into something that now feels vast and endlessly replayable. Reviewers who once feared the game would disappear into obscurity revisited it recently and found the opposite. Old World is thriving. Looking back at Civilization in 2025 only clarifies what makes Old World special. Civilization is broad, approachable, and iconic, but also static. Old World is intimate, reactive, and personal. Civilization lets you paint history. Old World makes you live inside it. Civilization hands you an immortal leader. Old World hands you a dynasty. Civilization asks you to optimize an empire. Old World asks you to govern a family, a political network, a generation of people whose lives intertwine with the fate of the state. The difference is profound. Revisiting Old World today, you will no longer see it as an experimental hybrid between Civilization and Crusader Kings. It has become its own genre, a role-playing 4X, a historical drama wrapped around an elegant empire builder, a strategy game with real human texture. Returning to it now makes you appreciate how few games evolve this gracefully. It hasn't just improved, it has become one of the most thoughtful and compelling strategy games available today.